Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to Create Your Victorious Life. I'm Cindy Gould, and I'd love to welcome you to the Spanglish World Networks and Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on your respective app stores for iOS or for your Android devices. While you download, make sure that you leave a stellar rating and a comment. The app is totally free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, on all smart TVs, not dumb, from 2016 on forward. And today I'm so excited for, I kind of want to say the mom whisperer, but for our spectacular guest, Linda Alexander, my sweet, precious friend, who I know from the Neuroencoding Institute, which we are both very, very anchored into. She is an elite neuroencoding specialist, a master NLP practitioner, and a master coach in timeline therapy. So valuable. She grew up in Germany and now lives in the United States with her husband and her 3-year-old son. And as a mindset, he's 4 now. Holy smokes. Yay. I can't wait to hear about those adventures. And as a mindset coach for mamas, she helps her clients who can constantly are on go. Just take a break, take a breath, and to thrive. Not just surviving, not just treading water, but to actually thrive. She has a passion for empowering women. She has a soft spot in her heart for mamas. She loves helping them to reach not just their kind of sort of, I'm going to settle for this potential, yay, but actually to reach their full potential. Linda has guided many women to achieve their goals and to transform their lives. I've seen testimonials lately, even, which are so cool. She did this and she walked down this path, which she will tell us her story, but through her own experience of overwhelm and lack of confidence and feeling helpless and wanting to pull her hair out and just not come out of the bathtub or any of the stuff, hide in the closet, whatever that is, she's going to share with us about it. And the power of mastering her mindset. And so because of that, therein birthed her mission and her vision for helping these moms and all of you moms. So welcome to our show today, Linda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So tell me, I always ask people, how did you create victory in your life, especially in this area? So just kind of in that thought process, tell me how you got even started down this path with now a 4-year-old, not a 3-year-old anymore.
I know, right? It's just been like a week. So yeah, for me, my journey really started when I became a mom myself, because when I wanted to be a mom, and I actually always knew that I was going to be a mom at some point, like I knew 2 things. I knew I wanted to have a career. I didn't have no idea what that was going to be. And I wanted to be a mom. And I always thought of my own mom, because she was home with us. She would, there was like a meal cooked, and she was there for conversations. And she was a stay-at-home mom. So while I knew that was not my path, I definitely wanted to stay home for my child at the beginning. So the career started to develop, and then it seemed like it was the perfect time to get a baby, to become pregnant. My husband got a new job offer. We moved to a new city. Everything seemed to line up. And I was like, oh my gosh, when you wait for this perfect moment, yes. I thought this is it. So we moved to the new city. Everything seemed to be great. I actually got pregnant. And that's also when I found out that my husband's job fell through. That my job didn't come through the way it was supposed to, because I was supposed to travel. There was no work for me. So suddenly, instead of being excited about this pregnancy, my whole vision and dream of being a mom was destroyed, because I knew that would change the course completely, and I had to go back to work shortly after giving birth. So completely not what I expected. And I was struggling with that, because it did not match with what I envisioned and wanted versus reality. So this is kind of how it started, that I got caught up in my head, because after 4 months, when my son was 4 months old, I had to go back to work. And I was actually working from home, just part-time. It sounded easy, it sounded doable. And I remember the first day, I was washing bottles in the morning. My husband would get ready for his work, and he's like, you okay? And I was just crying. was just crying. I was like, no, I'm not. But I will be, because I had to be. So I said, okay, I will be. And for me, it was so hard because I had a babysitter at home. So it was actually an easier route, right? I had the baby right there, and still just seeing another woman holding my baby when all I wanted was to be with him, it broke my heart. And so when I was supposed to be working and sitting in front of my laptop, I thought of my baby. When I was with my baby, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to work more. Like I need to do overtime. I need to perform, because that was my identity. That was what I used to do in the past. Everything came from my work, like my achievements, my worth, like everything I gained from there. And it was not there anymore because I felt like I was barely scraping by.
Right.
And then the pandemic hit. So I didn't have a babysitter. Suddenly I was sitting here with like a baby on my lap and trying to type and being in meetings. And it just got like more and more. The spiral went down, like the whole, I'm not good enough. I cannot do this. Who am I? Like I was not ready like to process all of this mom thing. Like, what does it mean? Like, how do I handle this? Our relationship was suffering because we weren't sure like how to be in a relationship anymore as parents, because it changes the picture completely. And so I went down this spiral more and more and more until one day I was crying in front of my son's crib. And I cried for help because I didn't know how to help myself anymore. I couldn't even express it to my husband because I was so caught up in my own thoughts that I was not able to tell him what was going on for me. So it was all in me, and that's the only place it was at. So I said, I need help. I need help. I cannot do this. I don't know what to do. Please help me. And I just put it out in the universe. And then a couple of days later, it was like a sleepless night. I wanted to watch something I was familiar with, and an advertisement came on for a personal development event. And something in me, like maybe you had this ever, like this feeling of this is it. This is the thing. This is what you want to do. That's the feeling I had. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the turning point. I even texted my husband because it was 2 a.m. and he was sleeping. I was like, can you please register? Like, you need to do this. And I didn't want to forget. In my head, I was screaming at him like, this is it.
That's so great.
And it really was, because that was the turning point, because I went to the event and I started to realize I'm not the crazy one. There's so many things I don't know about how we function as humans and how our brain works. And 3, there's a different way. And suddenly something shifted inside me, like nothing on the outside changed. I just went to events and I learned about how we function, and I went from one program to the other. So the inside changed completely. And while the stress on the outside was still there, I was still a new mom and struggling with my job and trying to figure life out. I felt confident. I felt good. I loved myself again. And I was like, oh my gosh, if that can happen to me, it can happen to other people as well.
100%.
And that was it for me, where I said like, hey, I want to go the route to go deeper so I can help other women as well. And that's where my passion for moms comes from, because I needed the help and I didn't have it. It's just because I didn't know about it.
Right. Well, and thank you for sharing that. Because there's so many moms that, that struggle. One of the things that you said that I think is so profound that you may not even realize you said it. You just said it too. You said, I loved myself again. And I know, even being a mother and I'm a grandmother as well. And so I remember, and I breastfed my children until they were a year old. That was the weaning point. It's your birthday. We're like, it was but those things were so important to me. And I had the privilege of being able to be home with my babies as well. So I understand that. And I had a mother who actually didn't even do one day of college or the university until all 7 of us children were graduated from high school. And then she started her career. So what was modeled to us, and I'm, older than you are, of course, but what was modeled to us though, was, our mothers got to stay home. And,
Exactly.
came home
Yes.
to homemade bread, homemade yogurt. I mean, I came home to all the yummies, right? And so
Yes.
I had, and I lived in a place in the United States and in a community environment where you've got the who's who of stellar rock moms. I mean, they all bake and clean and sew and do all the things, right? And most moms, when I was
Mhm.
got to stay home with their children, right? And so I wanted to create that same kind of a life for me with my babies, which I did. I worked from home different than yours, because it was a home-based business. So I got to kind of work around my own things. I totally get the stress though, because even
Mhm.
working from home, you're working. So what about the laundry? What about, right? Yeah, you're like thinking, I hope you can't
Yes.
see right, right. Or what about even just taking a freaking bath and you've got a brand new baby and you just want a minute
Yeah.
just to soak in the tub, and your husband crashes on the couch and baby's crying and no bath time for Linda, or whatever, right? Or obviously, I mean, I totally get it. Some other thing that you said though was really cool, and it's something that speaks to me because I teach about identity as well, as you know.
Mhm.
We're taught, especially now with the internet and everything else, people identify literally themselves and create their identities based on their roles, not based
Mhm.
on who they are, on being that employee, being that stellar, whatever, being a mother, being a wife, being a, valedictorian when you graduated from college, being beautiful, sexy, big, small, whatever. They bundle that all in there as opposed to who they really are. So therefore there's like a disconnect, wouldn't you say? Like, did you
I,
feel disconnected?
oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on this one, because this was actually like the really big thing for me, because I always myself would identify based on outside things. Like I would get the certification, I would graduate, I would go to like follow the path my parents wanted me to follow to, like, because I thought this is it, because this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how I show that I am worthy and contribute to this society.
Yes.
What I forgot about though is, or what I struggled with actually, is anytime someone else came in with the same certification, with the same career path, I feared that they would outdo me. I
Mm,
feared that I would not be good enough, because maybe they were more like, I can be reserved, so maybe they were more outgoing. I was like, oh my gosh, like now they're going to take my spot because they pretty much the same thing plus. What I
got it.
totally forgot though is that is me that I bring to the table.
Yes.
That it's me and nothing else. And that is the part I think that we need to learn, because like you said, nobody points it out to us. It's always like, oh, we need to achieve, we need to go from one class to the other, we need to go sports, and we need to get awards there and contests. And I mean, like, pick your poison, right? There's so many things we need to compete
Right.
for and always achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if we could actually center without ourselves and just say, like, hey, this is me, this is who I am, I love myself, and if you love me, that's great, and if not, doesn't change anything for me. Wouldn't that be much more beautiful?
Yes, yes. Well, and what you said also, and I think when you're stuck in those roles and your identity is based on that, and you
Mm-hmm.
find it in your significance, because all of those things obviously are anchored in significance. When
Mm-hmm.
you can, then it's a breeding ground for fear,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, comparison,
Mm-hmm.
because somebody rolls in and you said, oh my gosh, she's funnier than I am. Oh, the team seems to like her more, or or I mean, if I were in a foreign country, oh, she speaks the language better. I mean, any of those things, right? I mean,
Yes.
because I understand that we have a lot of friends in common, and a lot of them are international, from all over the world. And
Mm-hmm.
think about that. And something else you said though a second ago too, when about contribution, and when you really are anchored in and you know who you are in your to all the way to the depths of your spirit, because I believe we're a spirit, we have a soul, we live in a body. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the body is just so you can see me, because of the way that it's right. But
Yes.
when we're anchored in a place of that and contribution, right? You said the word contribution a minute ago, and that is where everything shifts, wouldn't you say? Like even being a mom, like where do you
Yes.
see those things, or being solid in your identity, being a mother? Where do you see that playing a role?
Actually, that is like one of the basic, like I don't know if basic is the right word, or like the the biggest thing, like it's like the thing maybe. And I say this because the truth is, when we are parents, our own stuff comes up, and suddenly we're faced with our own triggers. And
Yes.
and then we look at our kids, and it can be this tiny toddler, and we're trying to manage, like teach them how to handle their emotions and how to share and how to show up in social settings. And the truth is, sometimes we struggle ourselves. So we bring our own things to the table, and we are so consumed sometimes by our own things, while we are supposed to take care of another person, or maybe it's even like several kids. And it's like the whole mix is completely different, because then it's different ages, different faces, like different struggles, and all of this is there. And I say this because being connected to ourselves is so important, so that we can actually show up as the mom that we want to show up as. So we can actually impact our children the way we want to impact them. I don't want to give like the stressed version to my son. I don't want him to think like, oh, we were always pressured for time and we were always stressed and always worried. No, I want him to enjoy life. I want him to be relaxed, to be confident from within. How can I
Right.
do that? They learn by watching us, right? So I want to model that. For that to model, I need to be connected. So that's why I say it's like the thing. We need to believe in ourselves so that we can contribute. And the truth is, we're shaping the next generation. Is there any bigger task?
No, in fact, there is no bigger task. And it is that what we're talking about really is the foundation to
Yeah.
all of that, which is, to your point. And as we are shaping, I believe that God gives us these children and we're stewards over them, and we're their tour guide to the world. And,
Yes.
even, and we have our own, we trip over our own traumas. We get triggered by our children because they say something, and we make assumptions sometimes and even forget, wait a minute, I haven't even taught them that yet. And they're responding based on what they have been taught. Or like you said, we're so busy. If you think about it, let's suppose like, what time do you have to be at work in the morning?
For me, it's 8.
Okay, so 8 o'clock isn't that bad. But let's say that you have to commute, right? And so let's say if you have an hour commute every day. And I used to commute when I lived closer to Seattle. And so my commute was always, of course, in rush hour traffic, because I was, regular 8 to 5 hours. And my commute ended up being a lot longer because it was traffic. And I had a way of, because we were at a standstill on the freeway during parts of my commute. I knew exactly when my car would be sitting there and not moving, right? So that's when I put my makeup on, but I created a life where I remember the day that it's wild that I opened up my glove compartment in my car to eat yet another Tums. And I was just popping Tums like crazy. And I was going back and forth, driving almost an hour each way in traffic. I had a very high demand job. A lot of things were riding on me performing, on my performance. And, I was a sales director for an organization. So that was it. I had my babies. We had, a blended family. There were all these things. And I didn't realize that I had created a life where my nervous system, right, was shot. And so how do I perform with my children? I mean, how am I performing with my family, with my mate, with all of that? Like, how was I? And you don't know how bad you feel till you feel good, right? And then you're
That
like,
is so
whoa.
true.
And it's scary. Like, so let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done to take care of Linda and to keep yourself in your own, loving bubble, to love yourself. Because did you find that when that isn't a habit, it might be a little bit scary to pour into yourself? Like, what came up for you when you were doing that, when you started those habits?
Yes. it was absolutely difficult. It was so difficult, and I say this because it was the complete opposite of what I had been doing, right? When you were saying just now how your nervous system was so overloaded, the truth is, as moms, as women, we put everyone else first, and we're so used to taking care of everyone else that we don't even realize how much we have on our plate. I was talking to someone else the other day, to a friend the other day, and she was like, yeah, someone told her she's doing so many things. Like she's working, she's successful, she has a baby, she's handling so many things, and is still so present in everything she does. For her, it's completely normal. She was like, oh yeah, that's just what I do, right? Well, it's not it's not easy, it's a lot. And first of all, to acknowledge that and just say like, wow, it is a lot, is going to make a difference. And the second thing, and that is so hard, is to accept help and just to say, you know what, I'm not able to do all the things that I'm supposed to do. And when I was thinking about your question just now, one thing is not only just like asking for help, but also accepting help. Because I always wanted to do everything myself. Actually, like, it was not this year, but last year for my son's birthday, I caught myself in this. We went into the bakery. He was attached to my hip because he was cranky after daycare. We went into the bakery. I paid for the cake, and they had made 2 cakes. And they were like, oh, you want some help to carry this to the car? Guess what I said?
You said no with 2 cakes and a baby on the hip.
I said no. So what did I do? I walked with my baby on my arm. I mean, it was a 3-year-old, but still to me, my baby, right?
A bigger baby.
To the car, back to the bakery, picked up the second thing, smiling and feeling like, why did I do that to myself? And I think that's the perfect example, because sometimes it's just about accepting the help that's available. Yes. It can be as simple as like, hey, can I open the door for you? Is it, can I help you carry things? Can I help you cook? It's not even like the big things, but there's so many small things to just accept the help. Yeah, that made such a big difference for me. And another thing is to let go of expectations. And I say this because I always wanted to be this perfect mom, because like you said earlier, like we had this modeled from our parents, and then we're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Well, no, it's not going to be like that, because we are not our parents. We are our own person, and our lives are different. So it's like, I really had to let go of these expectations and say, like, you know what, it's different, and that's okay. We're finding our way. Like when I was looking at my parents when I was younger, I always thought they have life figured out. It's like they know what to do, they know how to do it. Like they plan the perfect parties, and everything is like organized. And here I am, and I was like, when I was a new mom, I was like forgetting about Easter and buying like candy for the kids, and like, oh, there's a birthday party, so 2 days before I had to run for a birthday present. I was like, why am I like failing here? Yes. And I completely neglected the fact that they had like 15 years to practice before I even paid attention. Before I even was like, oh wow, they have life figured out, because until then I didn't care, right? So it's really about like accepting help and letting go of expectations. And that's like the basic, I would say, to even get started. And it's freaking hard.
It is hard. I think I think there's a fallacy, especially with moms, with mothers, because we have that where we often are the ones we pick up, drop off, that, not that dads don't, a lot of fathers do. And that's so great. Yeah. But we bump into the other moms. And so, am I pulled together this morning? Did I, does my kid still have breakfast on his face? I mean, just, all those things. Right. But then also that whatever that label is of being the perfect mother, I mean, because you show up at all the soccer games and, all of those things, they're just stacks of, like you said, the expectations, when at the end of the day, the things that are most important, beyond feeding and, the basics, are really, did I tell my child multiple times that I love him? Did I instill confidence in him? Did I cheer him on? Did I notice when he came home today that he was sad or upset? And did I make the time to sit and visit with him? Did
Yeah.
I, all of those things that are really, like you said, we're creating and we're installing these things in our next generation of leaders, and some of the different things too. Like I remember even as a child, the good things about me being a mother, I learned from my mother, and one of the things that, hey, Eric, he's joining us, who's an excellent father, by the way. And one of the things that I really love, because I loved some of my fondest memories are sitting on the floor playing jacks with my mom, or just even making cookies. And in the busy world, I mean, even if we use the hello, I commute an hour each way every day, and then you've got all the other things in between, and all the stuff. And then what about the single moms, and what about the blended families, and and then what about the families that are now living more families than one in a home, right? Because of finances and other things. It's how do you, because to what Eric is saying, you have a wonderful program actually, right? And a Facebook group, the Thriving Mom program, and your Thriving Mom Village. And you also have a free 5-day, right? Do you still have that? Your How to Stay Afloat? Okay. How to stay afloat and not to go crazy. So speak to me a little bit about these amazing tools and places and things that you can offer our mamas.
Yeah, sure. So it all comes back to that I needed to understand how we function as humans, right? And I needed the support system that that I didn't have or didn't see or didn't utilize, and I needed someone to guide me the way. So I wanted to create a space where moms can come together that all want to grow and learn and want to give their best. And so I created the Facebook group because I wanted this village, right? Because it really comes down to we all try to do it by ourselves, but that's not possible. So let's come together and really use the power of the community, right? Where we can share the experience, where we can share tips and say like, hey, what are you doing to simplify your life? What are you doing to take care of yourself? And just get a little bit of different just suggestions and ideas going. And I'm also sharing regular content. For example, in my Facebook group, I go live once a week and share a little nugget, or I do master classes. So really that we learn and can take this into our lives, because I know as moms, our life is so busy. So I believe in short trainings, I believe in simple exercises, and I believe in things that make fun. Because if we're having fun and it's simple and it doesn't take much time, I think I can do it. If I tell you, hey Cindy, let's go on a 6-month journey and you need to show up 3 hours each day, you're going to say thank you, Linda, but no. And that led then into my program, and it's like a 3-month program, Thriving Mom program, because it's really about us understanding our beliefs, our being really strong in our identity, in our self-belief, building the support system, knowing what we can use, strategies, and bringing it all together. And that's pretty much what I'm building with my program and my group.
So the program is different than the actual Facebook group, correct? They're two different things?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The Facebook group is a free Facebook group because I want to reach as many people as possible. And for the one that say like, hey, I want more of this and I really want to dive deep, I have a 3-month program. And for people that want to get their features wet, or like, I don't know if this fits for me, or I don't know how does this coaching thing look like, because it's different from therapy or other things they may have experienced.
Yes.
So I offer a 5-day free challenge, how to stay afloat and not go crazy, where we touch on things, mindset, belief, the support systems. And it's not only to understand what is actually possible, but also to make changes. Because again, I don't believe in just talking about theory and then say like, yeah, that sounds nice, like thank you, bye. No, I want it to be like usable. I want it to be easy to implement, and so something like that people can take with them and say like, okay, great, that's actually something that I can use tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
my goal.
Yes. Well, and and you're married also, and a lot of your mamas are married and or in relationships or whatever. What have
Mm-hmm.
you done in your life? Because you and I have talked a little bit about we have to take care of ourselves first. And when you were speaking a minute ago about, we always take care of everybody, the kiddos, everything. And think about even moms, think about when you make breakfast. Your plate is probably the last plate that you put food on. Same with dinner, right? You make sure everything's on the table, everything's ready to go, and your son's only 4, so his help is limited, maybe the silverware and the napkins or something, but other than that, but and mom's plates are typically the last ones to get handled, or mom's showers the last shower to get handled unless she's up at 4 in the morning and gets her workout and all the other things. But what are some of the things that you do? I'll just speak to this first. In your marriage, things that you do that set that apart from being a mom, so that you're a wife and not a mother at that time. Does that make sense?
Yes, which is so important, because I'm going to say something that may, like, for some moms or in general people that listen to this, say like, ooh, I'm not sure about this, because what most moms will say is, my kids come first.
Huh.
And even dads will say, my kids come first. And while I agree to that, like to some extent, it's also important to take care of our partnership, to put them first too. So, for example, what I found myself doing, I would say in the morning, I need to rush out of the door. I need to get to work. And I would pretty much say just like, hey, husband, like, bye, have a good day, from the distance across the room. And then I would go to my toddler and hug him for 10 minutes and make sure he's fine and taken care of. The switch that I really had to do is challenge myself and say like, wait a minute, what if I do that for my husband as well? What if I do the same thing for our partnership? And what if I actually put that at least on the same level? So for me, it's actually like simple things, because I'm not having miraculously more time to spend with my husband. So it's again about making the time that I have count. That means in the morning, intentionally looking at my husband and saying like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, how was work yesterday if we didn't get to catch up because we had long days? Anything you need help with, like just being intentional and present.
Correct.
And then for us, for example, we have once a week date night. Well, does date night mean we go out? No, it doesn't, because we have a very attached toddler. It means spending time sometimes in front of the TV, sometimes like just sitting together and having a glass of wine and just enjoying each other's presence, or listening to some music, like whatever feels right in the moment. But we intentionally make time for this. And when we find that we get distracted with life, which happens so easily, right? Because we can all get caught up, because the truth is, if you would take your to-do list and I would take my to-do list, we could write for hours and would not be done, because there's just so many things.
Right.
So we just remind ourselves and say like, hey, we need to make time for ourselves. Yes, okay, let's do this. And then we plan for it and stick with it. It sounds stupid, but if you need to then schedule it in, schedule it in. That's okay. That's okay. But it needs to happen, because the truth is, if we don't take care of our partnership and the relationship, our kids are not going to be happy either. We can do whatever we want. It's not going to be good for them, because they will feel the vibe. And it goes down again to, what kind of relationship do we want to model to our kids?
Yeah.
Do we want to display my son that a relationship means both of you have duties and you look at each other? Have you done this? Have you done this? Where's that? Have you paid the bill? Oh my gosh, now I have to do this. Or do you want to show like, no, it's fun, it's supportive, there's so much love in the room? Personally, that's the picture I want to give my son. So I put in intentionally into the relationship so that we live this, and he sees it and automatically learns, oh, this is what marriage looks like. So when he looks later for a partnership, he's going to be like, oh, wow, that's what it is. It means fun. It's being silly. Like, we are so silly in this household. Like, when my husband gets at home, we're usually the first ones home. Like, there's like laughter, there's silliness, there's jokes, there's like hugs like that last forever. It's like, that's what is our normal, and it's supposed to be.
It is supposed to be. I agree 100%. And it's about being intentional and attention. Intention and attention. And the only way that that takes place really is in your heart. When you have that relationship, that person, your mate, or like really in your heart of hearts. And I think it is critical, I mean, seriously, to be disciplined enough to schedule these things and schedule, hey, did I send him that sassy text? Did I send him that sassy picture of me today? Did I call my mother? Did I do this? Did I do that? And schedule in the things, not just where you have to show up and when you're going to be on somebody's show or other things, but really schedule in those pieces of with the people that you love. Did I, who did I really make that meaningful connection as Eric is saying, love connections versus relationship transactions, and then did I remember, did I make sure he had, if laundry is your part of, what you guys do, the exchange of, did I make sure he had the things? Did I cheer him on before he left for that meeting? Or like you said, you're paying attention. I know some of the habits of people that I know really well, and I know things that I did. Two things that I think are really important is, one of them is, if you're faith-based and you pray, or whether you meditate, whatever you do, have a practice of spending a few minutes doing that with your mate every morning and setting your morning in intention, even before you get out of bed, maybe. If you guys get out of bed at the, or are up at the same time, or find some time where you can connect that way, and then and actually have, meetings as mates also. Okay, we've got to get all these things on the calendar, and, and so that, it isn't just two ships passing in the night, and that they're aware. The other thing you said, though, that's so important is laughter. Like, our family's like kind of, and this came from my dad, actually, funny pranks and different things, and I remember one time coming home from a date, and I walked in, and of course I have 5 brothers, and my brothers had rigged these like buckets above the door so that when I walked in, just and some of the stuff that we used to do, like is just dump like cold water over the shower, like, or just things like, love you, but just things that, because laughter is healing and loving and connecting and fun. And like you said, it's even with your mom's group. A lot of, if you think back to the time when you were really struggling, how often did you really smile or laugh? The tears came easily, right? But the laughter and the smiles didn't. And sometimes when you're too exhausted to do anything but lay on the couch, watch Netflix, and let your toes touch each other, while you're trying to stay awake, when you find something funny to watch and you're laughing together, that's like weaving your tapestry tighter, and those are the things that I think are just a blast and really fun. So I think it's fabulous that you're teaching women to have fun and not just be everything serious, right? Like,
yes, I think it's so easy to forget. And I think that's also part of why we're so busy, and we feel like we have to perform, and we have to be serious, and we have to be perfect. And when we try to do all of this, then we forget about the fun part. And I actually say, because I felt miserable in the past, I always say now, we are not meant to be miserable. We are meant to enjoy life. We're meant to be happy. And the big thing that we sometimes forget is, it's in our power. I can be the silly one. I can crack the joke. I can just encourage everyone to play a game, and that can make all the difference. And so it's easy, like I know in the past, especially now, I'm getting good with catching myself. It's we always want like everything. We women, we like, it's like when we go on a diet, we starve, right? When we say we work out, then we go hardcore working out. Like we want it all. We want it all. And just to say, you know what? I'm okay if I made someone laugh like once per day in my family. That is a great goal to have.
Yes.
If I had 5 minutes intentional with my husband, that means I had a great day. If my son is happy, that means I fulfilled my job as a mom and I can be proud of myself.
Yes.
It's like when we just go for like the little win and start from there and just build up, slowly instead of trying to do it all and then we're failing and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it, and then we stop.
Yes.
No, let's do little steps, one step after the other.
Agreed. And it's exactly what you're saying. And when you just stack those little wins, and if there's the Jesse Eitzler talks about 18 minutes a day. And if just 18 minutes a day you do one thing, whether it's a new language, an instrument, a walk, reading, 18 minutes a day within a year, I think then you've got 100 hours in, which is more than 95% of the people on the planet in that specific. Yep. And it's like you said, just one little thing. So let's say like, okay, well, let's just talk about laundry. Okay. Well, let's say that your win is getting, and I tell people, look, start with the towels, unless you like have nothing to wear, because towels are easy. Like towels are easy.
Like the pile is so much smaller.
Yes,
all of us.
Yes. And pull the towels out, chunk the towels in, and maybe your win is getting them from the washer to the dryer without having to re-rinse them because you let them sit too long, right? So, and then getting them and actually folding them and putting them in the linen closet. I mean, maybe that's the win, and celebrate that. And you don't have to attack the whole load, the whole mountain of laundry. Yeah. Or maybe your win is, okay, we've eaten Taco Bell and In-N-Out and all the drive-thrus all week. And maybe your win is Sunday, you made breakfast.
Yes.
Instead of ordering it now. I mean, now it's so easy. You can Uber anything. It's nuts, but maybe, and just imagine what, like with moms, like let's say, and what if it's a single mom? So let's say you make your own breakfast and you take that money and you guys go to the movies, what you would have spent on going out to eat or whatever. Maybe your win is that you actually just woke up and you got your morning habit that you've wanted so badly to start. Instead of that long habit, you actually got 5 minutes of meditation in. Heck, what if you got 3 minutes in before in the middle of your meditation, you realize you're writing your to-do list instead of meditating, right? Because I mean, that's so true. I've been there. Like
it is so true. And it's also, I think that's the easy distraction to add on here. It's like, because it's so easy to sit there maybe in the morning or in the night, whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm taking my me time. And then I sit there and I'm like, oh, I should do the laundry. Oh, I should cook. Actually, there's a birthday coming up. I should order a gift from Amazon. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute. I'm supposed to relax right now. It's an effort because we can get distracted so easily. And what I actually want to add to what you just said here with like, take like the 3-minute meditation. Also accept that today may happen and tomorrow not. But I will try the next day again. I will try again. Because in the past, I would always say it needs to be perfect, right? Everything needs to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, it's not right. Well, then I'm not getting anywhere because now I have a wild card, which is my little guy, and sometimes he gets up at 4:30, sometimes at 6, sometimes he wants to sleep until 8, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to go to school, what's happening here? I never know. So it's about being okay that sometimes it works better and sometimes not. Make it doable, make it feasible, make it achievable, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, it's not about some of the things that we see online. It's not about that image that we see, that all those perfect Ward and June Cleaver, you're probably too young for that, but Leave It to Beaver, the perfect family environment. I mean, yeah, you got piles of clothes, and heck, you've got stacks of mail, and sometimes you have to clear a place on the table just to put a plate down because you've got so much stuff, and you've got your purse and your shoes, and we've got shoes for everything, and if you're Hawaiian like I am, your shoes are kicked off at the door, so we've got piles of shoes and that kind of thing, so many, you've got all those things. And so, we've just got a couple of minutes before we're done today. And so thank you so much for being here. What's one thing during this holiday season that you can tell the mamas out there that will give them a way to create peace for themselves or to love themselves more? What's one thing that we can do?
So for me, what comes up with the holiday season is like we suddenly jump from our to-do list to be like overloaded to our to-do list being overloaded, because there's so many expectations, and there's like family members, and there's like additional tasks. We need to get the meals ready and plan for it, and we need to buy the gifts and everything. Yeah. I think the biggest shift that I could create for myself is by really asking myself, what do I need to do right now? What really needs to get done? Because if I think too far ahead, I'm going to drive myself crazy, and I may take care of things that are actually not needed right now. So really about asking yourself to say like, hey, what is it that is right now important and needs to get done? Because like I said, the to-do list can go endless. It can go endless. But if I ask myself what is actually important, I'm going to make progress in the right areas, and I can focus. Yes. And this comes to my mind because when we are so overloaded, we just scattered, right? Our brain is just nonstop going. But when we can focus on like one area that is actually important, we know we got this, we can do this, we're getting things done without feeling exhausted, without driving ourselves crazy, and just giving ourselves this way a break.
And just those little things, as you said earlier, just do little steps, little things at a time. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
When it comes to making the class, and enlist your husband. A lot of wives are the ones that do the shopping and do all those things. Include your people. Now we only have a couple minutes left. So I want to say, all of you who want to find my precious friend Linda, she is on Facebook, linda.alexander.coaching. So facebook.com/linda.alexander.coaching. She has her free Facebook group, the Thriving Mom Village. Thank you to our fabulous friend Eric, who we love so much. He's so supportive and is on here with us, always cheering us on. She has her program, also the Thriving Mom program. I want to thank you, Linda, for being here. I would love to ask you to come back after the holidays, and let's check in and see how you survived the holidays and all your moms, and you'll give us great ideas for great things for moms after the first of the year, which would be terrific. I want to thank all of you for joining us today as well. Our show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check us out on SpanglishWorld.ca for all of the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And before he takes us out, anything else, Linda?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I would love to come back. And what I want to say to the audience is, you're worth it, you deserve it, and it's all within you.
100%. I agree wholeheartedly. And I would just add to that, you know what, you are loved, and you are. And so live your life. Don't hold back. Do not settle. Figure out who you are, why you're here, and what you're going to do about it. Find us both on all the social medias, because we'd love to hear from you. And watch out for Linda. She may have her own show soon. Coming soon on this network. With love. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your week.